So what happens when we get into a conflict mode? What I know happens to me when I get very upset with somebody is I see red. And so here we've got red. And this is a mnemonic device to talk about the way that a lot of people feel when, or actually how a lot of people handle conflict situations. The first thing we tend to do is just react. Just kind of knee-jerk reaction. I'm mad at this happening and this shouldn't be happening. And then another thing that we do is we often tend to explain. So we get right into the explanation, but you didn't have that report on my desk by this morning. I know I didn't, but it's because you had me do so many other things, and we start explaining things in a very reactive fashion. And then often, no matter what side we're on, we demand that the other person see and understand our point of view. And this is how we do it often in our lives, in our relationships, and often in the workplace. And what I'd like to suggest to you is that there is a better way to solve conflicts and a much more appropriate acronym, which is SOLVE. So the very first thing that I'd like to suggest that you do when you enter a conflict situation is the most obvious, but one of the most overlooked. And that's simply to stop. You stop. You take some breath. That gives you a chance to calm down. It gives the other person a chance. It creates some space between you, some temporal space between you. And then the other person sees that you're not on the attack. You're stopping. Then we move on to observing, because so much of communication is nonverbal. So, if somebody's angry with you, or even if you're angry at somebody, if you can observe their face, their body movements, their body language, if you can observe what's going on around you, if the office is very, very busy and you're close to a deadline and these types of things, you want to make sure that you are observant of the bigger picture, not just of this tension that there is between the two of you. Then you want to move on to listening. Especially if you are the person who's calm and the other person's angry, you want to make sure that you tell them, wow, you seem upset. Tell me what's going on. And then make sure that you really take it in and that you listen to the other party. And once you listen, you might want to verify back to them what you heard. In a situation at home, you might say, so I hear, honey, that you wanted me to take the kids to school and I forgot. And if I'm verifying correctly, you seem that you're upset and it seems that this is the problem. Is that correct? Or at work, you might tell your boss, you seem upset with me because you're saying that I didn't do this, this, and this, and the result was this, this, and this. Is that correct? Because you want to make sure that when you do react or when you do respond, you're responding to the right thing. And then the very last step is explaining, because it is important to get your point across. But often we tend to put this step way up at the front, and it's not e-solve, it's solve with the explanation at the end. So, having gone through this, I'm going to now give you two scenarios. The very first scenario is, your boss asked you to run a 1-hour errand and then got upset because you were late to a meeting. So, you were the employee, you were the boss, and you are upset with him because he was late to the meeting. And you are upset back at the boss because you think he's being unreasonable. So this is one scenario that I have. Another scenario is that the two of you are co-workers, and it seems that one of you took credit for a project that the other person did. And you're at the water cooler or you're at lunch, and you're really angry at each other over this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the situation. I'm going to give each of you your part in it. And then I'm going to ask you to resolve the conflict between you following these steps. And as your trainer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step away, but then I'm going to come behind you, I'm going to kind of eavesdrop, and I'm going to intervene as necessary. Okay? And you will have 10 whole minutes for each situation. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started on the first one.